how did we used to do this? How did we, because today the big subject, I mean, we could talk about legal immigration, and we could talk about the fact the population's risen by 8 million this century, etc. Yeah. But it's illegal immigration that the Prime Minister is talking about today, and Priti Patel's out in Rwanda. How did you, as a young officer engaged in this business, how did you deal with people coming to Britain illegally?
So I cut my teeth on the Immigration Act of 1971, which came into force on 1/1/73.
Yeah.
Just around the time I was joining, but that was probably the most draconian looking back piece of legislation, because it gave me huge powers, Nigel. I mean, some powers that I wasn't aware were so huge, but actually as an immigration officer I was empowered to decide whether or not you entered the country. So when you came to my desk at the airport, if I checked your passport, I was trained to look out for forgeries and dodgy passports and things, and if you had a dodgy passport, well then I would send you straight back on the first plane you arrived on by serving you with a notice and serving the airline with a notice, and then we would keep you at the airport and you'd go straight, same with the ferry ports really. And then when we got into illegal entry, the same thing applied. If we found people that were coming up the beaches illegally, then they were liable to detention.
And did that sort of thing happen in those days?
Yes. In fact, there was an amnesty, I remember, back in the 70s for illegal entrance, and quite a lot of overstayers tried to pretend they'd entered illegally to get into the amnesty. So I remember all that quite well. There were illegal entrants, but the powers we had were probably, when you think about that now, draconian. But yes, I didn't...
And that's vested in you, and they had no right to call a lawyer or anything like that?
No, it was upon the authority of my chief. So if I wanted to refuse anybody, I had to get a second pair of eyes, which was my chief, who would second guess my decision. And if they had an entry clearance or a work permit, they got a right of appeal before removal. But generally, that's what I cut my teeth on for the first 20 years or so. What happened after that was this sort of huge asylum intake that we got. It started in the 90s, and I was here actually in the noughties, 2002. We had 100,000, Nigel, arrived and it was a lot worse than now, because they were actually camping on the beaches in Dover. I don't know if you remember that. I do, yeah. Huge investment. We had to triple the Home Office budget. In fact, I was on an attachment to Canada and came back, and we tripled the budget. I mean, I couldn't come back at the same time. Tony, all the people that used to work for you have all been promoted. I mean, we've had this massive asylum directorate created, and we didn't have any computers, Nigel. This was all paper. So there was a paper interview, which we'd write down, keep at the port, a pink file, and then there was another green one in the Home Office, and the paperwork just mounted up and up. We have got an iron mountain of files down in Hayes where all these files were kept. But actually, we simply sunk under, and so I still think we've never really recovered in the Home Office from the backlogs that grew, because became
the not fit for purpose Home Office.
Well, John Reid came in and he said that we weren't fit for purpose. I remember that very, very well. And we were all put on leadership training courses, and we all went through additional, re-evaluation of ourselves. But the fundamental issue was what we'd created was this huge bureaucracy around asylum, a huge legal profession which continues to grow around asylum. So the decision making now is not at the border.